Hello, again. I'm back. I'm going to be doing a class. I'm going to be doing a talk on the tarot, and the talk is going to be about why this works. Something nobody's ever been able to really talk about with any concrete facts until now. I'm the only one I know of who's doing this, which is why I started writing my books about the tarot. When I came across this, I figured I had to talk about it. I had to write a book. I wasn't planning on being an author until I came across this information about the tarot. I was just a reader. But when I realized this was what was going on with the tarot, I figured I had to write about it. That's when I came out with Genius of the Tarot and Essential Tarot, Unlocking the Mystery. And I'm still working on other books now too. But anyway, this is why it works. And what this information does is it allows us to advance with tarot cards. You can't improve anything if you don't know why it works. And we've always had explanations of why this works that were very vague or things that were not concrete and couldn't be confirmed in any way. Now this can be confirmed because of our understanding of the way the mind works. We can see what we're doing with this. And we could also see other parts of society that are using it in very, very successful ways. The same applications that we're using with tarot cards. So, why does it work? For one thing, I'd like to say, the reason this works is not because of the cards. The cards are a tool with it, obviously. But the reason this works is because of the application. So the mystery of the tarot has never been in the cards themselves. It's been in the application of the way these cards are used. And the cards are used in a way that spark ideas to the mind to help us see new situations or new ideas to a question we're looking into. In the 1950s, psychology started to look at the way genius minds have thought, the way the genius mind thinks. Names like Divination, Einstein, Edison, Ford, Newton, Galileo, people like this. And we looked for parallels in how they discovered their ideas, and was there any patterns here that were used. So this became known as a psychological study called creative thinking. And we've learned a lot about it since then. And today we have actual groups of people that would be called creative consultants today that use these studies that have been refined now since then to actual applications to spark ideas. And who uses these applications? Creative thinking techniques is what they are. I have here Fortune 500 companies, branches of the government like the CIA, NASA, Pentagon. This is used in science, education, philosophy, technology, sociology, linguistics, business studies, economics, and even artistic endeavors like songwriting, novels, and inventions. So it's very common. So you've heard of think tanks. People have heard of think tanks. And they use this application too. This application involves something that's one of the most basic parts of this way of thinking is called, today it's called conceptual blending. The term conceptual blending became a psychological term around 1993. We've known about the application of thinking this way before that. It's a very natural way for the human mind to think, but we don't usually use it. But if we put it into an application, it makes it easier for us to think this way about something. So it's known as conceptual blending today. And conceptual blending is taking some randomness and adding it to an element of our question, forcing our minds to make an association from this randomness that's placed in with our question to find new ideas. Anything that's ever been created, for the most part, was done by taking something we're totally familiar with, that has nothing to do with our question, and adding it to it, and taking the attributes from this randomness and adding it to our question to find new ideas on how to see this as an answer, a new answer for something. This forces our mind out of rational thought and puts us in a very imaginative and intuitive way of thinking. Today this is known as conceptual blending. I can give you all sorts of examples of conceptual blending. I'll give you a couple here. The Hubble telescope is one. They couldn't figure out how they were going to focus this telescope to look into deep space. They couldn't use the way an average telescope would focus by elongating out this way to look out into light years away. So they had to find another way to do it. And so they looked at attributes of things you find in the bathroom. Now that's conceptual blending. The things you find in the bathroom have nothing to do with my question. And they looked at the shower head. And the shower head has a way of opening and closing the stream of water to wider or narrower stream of water. And this is what was used. The principles of a shower head were used to focus the telescope, for the Hubble telescope. Instead of elongating and stretching out long or short to focus, opening up wide or smaller like a shower head does is a form of conceptual blending. Gutenberg's printing press originally was the first where he wanted to figure out a way to press ink onto paper. And he saw some people using a wine press. And his first printing press was a jerry-rigged wine press because of that. Those are just off the top of my head examples of conceptual blending, taking some random thing that has nothing to do with our question and adding it to it. One story about Louis Braille, who invented Braille. He was a blind boy. There's a couple stories on how that happened, but one of them was he picked up a pine cone wishing he could read a book, and he was blind. And as he's touching the points of a pine cone, he thought of Braille, points on paper to make letters. So Braille happening from a pine cone. Focus of a Hubble telescope from a shower head. Or a couple examples of that. Today this is called conceptual blending. There's a group of people out there today called creative consultants. And these people are hired by Fortune 500 companies and branches of our government and other big project situations to look into a question for some new ideas on how to do this. And they use applications of thought that spark new ideas. And conceptual blending is probably the most common thing that's used for that. Adding a random stimulus to the question. It's also very important to analyze any question. It has to be broken apart into sections, elements of the question. So it's broken apart into different positions. And then a random stimulus is added to each of those positions to spark new ideas. This is identical to a card reading. A card reading breaks apart a question known as a card spread. And then a random stimulus in the form of a tarot card is added to each of those positions of the card spread. So position 1, let's say, is hopes and fears. And then I add a card in position 1. That card is supposed to represent some aspect of my question in regards to the hopes and fears of my situation with this question. How does this card help me with that? How does the card help me with my hopes and fears of this question? Maybe position 2 might be hidden influences, outside influences, as it pertains to my question. Adding a card to there is an answer or suggestions to the outside influences of my question. A random stimulus is conceptually blended to elements of the question known as a card spread and tarot cards. This is basic conceptual blending today. The only difference between a creative consultant and a tarot reader is a tarot reader limits their random stimulus to a deck of 78 cards, where a creative consultant uses anything in the world around them, from things found in a hardware store, to things found in a bathroom, to random words selected on a page of a book. Anything random, put to elements of our question, conceptually blended together to find new ideas about it. This forces our mind to see it in an imaginative way, for new ideas, taking us out of logical thinking and putting us in a more better space for new ideas. Imagination is the gateway to your intuition. Imagination and intuition, I think, uses the same parts of the mind. Both are used to make a prediction. Whether you're a creative consultant working on a project for Federal Express or Apple, or you're a tarot reader looking into something more personal, like a relationship issue or a career change. It's an application of thought, breaking the question apart, adding a random stimulus into each position, forcing our minds to find new ideas. This is why a card reading is so effective. It's a natural way for the mind to think. Great minds in the past have known that. It's not been a common thing for everybody, but we all have it naturally in us to do it. Today it's recognized and used as an actual application by major companies and places like this, just like the application of a card reading is used by a tarot reader. These applications are identical. This is why the tarot card reading is so effective. It has nothing to do with the cards. It's the application that the cards are used in that makes it effective. Knowing this now opens up capabilities with tarot cards that have never been there before, because now for the first time in their history, we could explain or understand why these cards work, why this situation works. And once we understand why something works, it allows us to improve it. Where before we were forced to do paint by numbers type of readings, now we can create readings in ways and improve them, make them more efficient, more precise, in ways that we never could do before. So we're just scratching the surface once we understand how it works. My book, Essential Tarot, goes into this more than my other work. And if you want to know more about conceptual blending, just Google that. Google conceptual blending. And you'll start to see, you'll be able to connect the dots between a card reading and that term. So I hope you like this, and keep throwing cards. We'll talk soon. Bye.